Hey, this is Caleb I from Millennial Z, and today we are in the Lord of the Rings Online again, and I have one big question for you. Do you have what it takes to raid? Well, the answer is yes. Well, probably. I mean, after you get some gear and level up and you learn a few other things. But anyway, the focus of this video is going to be on Raiding 101, and my goal here is to encourage the MMO wallflowers who have been too afraid to dance to jump on in and get their feet wet. That might have been a couple of different analogies that didn't belong together, and you know what, I've never gotten my feet wet dancing, and to be honest, I don't do much dancing anyway. But my point is, I'm going to cover some excellent stuff to help you get started running some raids and gaining confidence, so stick around. This one might be a little bit longer, but it's all gonna be good. So first things first, raiding isn't nearly as difficult as you think it is, though it certainly is more challenging than most things in the game. Finding a raid isn't impossible either. You don't have to be a member of some secret club or be one of the best players in the game to qualify. And they can be an absolute blast as you meet new players and just hang out on a weekend. So how do you know you're ready to raid? Well, raids occur in the game starting at level 50, so you can get involved in some low-level raids pretty easily, but for the sake of this video, let's focus on the endgame content. A raid is a 12-man instance, and much like the 3-man instances are harder than running solo, and the 6-man is usually harder than the 3-man, a raid is going to be the most difficult and require the most teamwork. Each raid has special and specific mechanics to the fight, so it's not a bad idea to check up on the wiki or YouTube for some ideas on how those fights are supposed to go down before you join a raid, which brings up some important points. You first need to identify the raid you're wanting to prep for. In this current endgame of level 130, we have the Remerkant raid and the Bloody Threshold raid. You need to be level 130 for both of them and also have discovered their locations. For the Threshold, there is a quest that will reward you an awesome goat mount for completing the raid on any tier. I'll put the links for both of those wiki pages in the description. You can check them out, but the goat is definitely pretty cool. You will also need the appropriate expansion pack for the raid you're wanting to run. Again, check out the wiki. Your gear could be a potential issue. Raids run in tiers, like many other runs, and Tier 1 you can get away with some shoddy gear, but it can be a real burden to the run if too many people are in that situation. So I recommend getting the reputation gear from Elder Slade for these raids, or even the drops from the Stairs 6-man run. Once you get some quality teal gear and some jewelry with a similar level, item level, you can raid with a lot more confidence, but don't let that hold you back. If you're part way there, or getting a lot closer and you see somebody putting a raid together, jump on in and get your feet wet. It's worth a shot. And remember, as you raid, you're going to be getting better drops, so you're going to see those holes filled as you go on. Now, it's also pretty important to know your role. Check out the video here in the description on combat roles for more information there, so that you know where to fit in, and more importantly, how to pick out your gear. If you're wanting to tank, for example, if you're a guardian or a captain, you're going to pick a little bit of different gear set than you would if you're planning on doing damage to either of those classes. And the same is true with any other class that has multiple roles. So now that you have your affairs in order, you can sign the contract and go be eaten by a dragon. Well, something like that. To get started with raiding, you can look around for a raiding kin. They will have certain rules as to who they allow in and what gear level, etc. And that's really not a bad route to go. I did spend some time in a raid kin when Isengard came out. I was wanting to run Dragotch and get involved in all that kind of stuff. But really, I love my kin. We're a social kin. We do some stuff. We certainly are not a raiding kin. But I don't want to leave them. I like to hang around. It's great. Also, I became pretty inactive after the server mergers. I came from Dwarrodelph, and now I'm on Gladden, and so nobody really knows me. It's like switching schools. Nobody knows me, and they don't know what I'm capable of, whether I'm good or bad, or somewhere in between, and I don't really know anybody else either. So after I fumbled around and got geared up and got caught up with the leveling thing, I started looking for raids being put together in the LFF channel. As you get involved with the raid groups, make sure you ask for a Discord server. Many groups are using the server, like we have a Gladden server Discord, but other groups have their own and may welcome you in. A Discord server can function kind of like a raidkin without having a raidkin, and many feature calendars and other announcements on when they plan on running something. So as you make friends and get established, you may find that you're invited to more difficult and more rewarding raid groups. Alright, so you also need to know how to speak the language. One of these days I'll do an MMO English class, but for today, let's cover a few vocabulary words most associated with raiding. Pug, the first one, pug. No, not the dog. Pug stands for pickup group, which means a largely random group of strangers attempting to have at it for a raid. Preferably they have a core of people who run together and a single leader who can calmly explain the raid to new players. If you sense a lack of organization, buckle up. It's probably going to be a bumpy ride, but I still recommend you ride it. Even as frustrating as it might be, it's going to help you learn how to be better prepared for the next run. So every experience is not necessarily a bad one, even if you spend 3 hours doing nothing but dying. Or you might want to opt out after an hour of that. But anyway, pots, another word. Pots. These refer to healing pots, usually specific ones like poisons and wounds, etc. Some parts of a raid you don't want to use these to clear the effects, and other parts of a raid might be very, very critical that you do. So knowing your cleansing skills and purchasing some of those pots from a scholar or the LOTRO store is pretty critical so that you have those when you do need them. Not all pots are created equal though. Make sure that they match the level of effect that you are receiving. Alright, next is target assist. This option is turned on in the raid window, which is in the next tab over from your kinship window. If someone is target assist, they usually mean that they want all damage classes to attack that person's target, which you can do by clicking their target in the window. This helps pool all of the damage to a single target, or most of it anyway, and it knocks that target down as fast as possible. In some of these raids, that's very, very important. If there are 2 players in the target assist, just ask which one's the damage focus. Oftentimes they'll plug the tank into one, and they'll plug the main DPS in the other, so you'll want to know which one you're supposed to be watching. Eyes and dots. Mind your P's and Q's, but in this case it's eyes and dots. DOT, D-O-T, stands for damage over time and is a favorite mechanic of raids. They love to pop those in, have a random eye show up over a player's head, and it will then drop a dot on them. These dots all work differently, but usually it's safe to assume that if you've got it, you're going to want to get away from everyone else ASAP, or they're going to die very soon. But again, read up on it. It's different for every raid, and sometimes even within the raid it might be different for different fights. Hope and scrolls. Okay, so something else you need to know. Hope and scrolls. Hope tokens and scrolls of battle lore can be used by one person in a fellowship, and they affect the whole fellowship if they are nearby. Please note, a raid of 12 people consists of 2 fellowships. So if you're using your tokens and scrolls, they're only going to apply to the 6 people in your fellowship. You want to bring these along to make friends. They are kind of expensive. They cost something anyway, so it's always nice to see new players chip in and say, hey, I'll take care of hopes and tokens after everybody died so that we can get those things reset. The scrolls have a cooldown timer on them, so it's nice to rotate through people and have different people use those so that they can all be, everybody gets that effect. Also, please remember to bring your cooked food and your fortifying food. Locks, raid locks specifically. When you run a raid, it will lock for a certain period of time. Sometimes it's 24 hours, sometimes it's longer, so you're going to want to check your locks before running the same raid again. This can be found in the next window over from the raid window. So if you have locks, they're going to show up there. Most things have a single day cooldown. So that's, like I said, just that single 24 hours. But this also important is this does not affect tiers. So you can usually run the same raid on a harder tier with no problem. So you finish tier 1, you want to try tier 2, you should be able to do that. And lastly, know the etiquette when in Rome, as they say. Here are my 10 commandments of raiding. Commandment 1, speak up. If this is your first time running, they need to know that so they can help you. Number 2, listen. And listen carefully to the raid leader. Ask questions if you don't understand. Make sure you clarify things. Number 3, enable your voice chat, please. Or better yet, go into Discord. Make sure it works before the raid. Anything can be typed, but usually it's a lot faster to say it in voice chat, and it makes things go by a lot smoother because sometimes you literally have 1 to 2 seconds to get something out, and it's just too hard to do that in chatting and typing. Number 4, follow the plan. Don't go rogue. Raids require everyone to work together. Number 5, don't crowd the chat. Say what needs to be said, goof around a little bit, but if someone is saying something that needs to be seen, don't crowd them out. Number 6, follow the group. Someone knows where they're going, hopefully, but even when they go the wrong direction, you're all better off facing whatever is down that tunnel together. Number 7, don't loot. Wait, be patient. The loot rules in a raid often have a master looter passing out gear. Also, if you happen to get something that you don't need, speak up and offer it, as you would want somebody else to do the same thing for you. This stuff is oftentimes bound, but not until after a certain time. You can trade them within your fellowship group before the timer goes up. Number 8, don't forget your consumables: hope, pots, scrolls, food, etc. Number 9, carve out a couple of hours at least. Even simple raids, when run with a random pug group, can take much, much longer as the leader tries to explain the run and not rush things. And we all appreciate him for doing that. So you're going to want to carve out a decent amount of time. Remember, real life is still real life. Don't feel bad if you have to go. Don't feel bad if you have to step away. Don't feel bad when things just happen. I have 3 kids, so my raiding career, if you want to call it that, is peppered and sprinkled with those instances of things like that. Or it takes place at 1 o'clock in the morning when everybody's sleeping. Number 10, be prepared to have fun and also die. Be prepared to die and have fun. Don't take it too seriously. Some nights you're going to spend 3 hours or more and walk away with absolutely nothing. Well, nothing except for the memories and great times you had in Middle-earth. I mean, that is why we're all here, right? All right, well, thanks for watching. Hopefully I cleared things up. Hopefully you feel a little more confident on getting into and getting involved with raids. My next goal will be to look at some more 101 for specific boss fights in specific raids, but that will be largely due to the availability of what's going on in the server of Gladden. All right, I will see you in Middle-earth.